I want to take this time and opportunity to sincerely thank FAMM, Fearless and Wonderfully Made Ministries Incorporated, for the extended warm welcoming invitation for me to speak to you in this presentation themed, There is Purpose in Your Pain. My name is Dr. Michele, and I'm a licensed mental health professional, author, business owner of a private practice called Beck & Associates, located in Coral Springs, Florida. When I think about this theme, the purpose of your pain, something significant comes to mind that I want to share with you today. My goal in this presentation to you and with my sharing is to hopefully mentally prepare you to look at your pain and its purpose from a completely different and new outlook and perspective. The intended outcome of this presentation is to provide meaning and purposefulness rationale for personal pain that is different, but hopefully helpful and useful when struggles and challenges occur in everyday lives. So let's begin. In general, it is human nature to want and desire verbal recognition, praise, and acknowledgement for the things we do in regards to and for our relationships, our work, our families, but most importantly, who we are as people. We crave positive affirmations for our personality, our personal character, and our moral compass. We consciously and sometimes unconsciously strive and work extremely hard to achieve these accolades. When receiving these accolades, we oftentimes feel worthy, valued, and special in the moment. And because of this, we feel essentially satisfied, proud, and accomplished with ourselves as people. However, in the same breath, personal learning and growth actually does not take place on a personal pedestal. It is in our fall and our pain we actually do the most growing and learning. Let me explain. When life presents its challenges and stresses, as it will, we can become immensely overwhelmed, paralyzed, stunted, and even traumatized. When then we metaphorically get knocked to our knees, either personally, meaning mentally or physically, relationally, professionally, spiritually, and financially, we are figuratively on the ground in pain and suffering. Yes, sitting on the ground in our personal pain is extremely uncomfortable, unnerving, and unsettling, and essentially, we don't like it. We then begin to question and oftentimes get angered as to how and why we are even enduring this pain. First, we at times have tendencies to turn our anger outward onto others and how they might have wronged or trespassed against us. Hence, others are the reason for such a fall. We then easily begin blaming others in essence by not taking our own personal responsibility and ownership as to where we are in this moment. When we do this, learning and purpose does not manifest. We indeed place blame onto others as we feel justified as there is reasons why we are on the ground in pain. This occurs often because it's so easy to pass along and project this blame onto others and how it's other people's fault as to where we are in this moment. The blame game gets a generalized thinking and feeling that we don't deserve this and it's not our fault. Hence, we get angered at others and blame others for our fall. Secondly, our anger can oftentimes turn inward onto ourselves, and we become morbidly angered and disappointed at ourselves. When this happens, we often begin the brutal processing of verbally bashing and berating ourselves and participating in all kinds of damaging self-talk. This keeps us situated and stapled on the ground with tendencies for us to sink even deeper into a black hole. Lastly, at times we get angered at our higher power and mad with the feeling that we were not protected or shielded in prevention from this fall. From this feeling of anger with our higher power, we sometimes lose sight, faith, and easily detach from him, thinking that he's abandoned us and we are now struggling singularly alone. With this, we then question and blame others, ourselves, and even our relationship with our higher power as to how and why this could happen to us. At this point, we are now mad at other people, ourselves, our higher power, and we're still sitting on the ground, but now stewing on the ground. This is where I want you to wrap your head around how easily our anger is misdirected during this time. Additionally, this is where I want to switch up this common and simple outlook, and I want to provide you with a completely different perspective to consider and to take away with. Stepping aside and reserving ourselves from blaming or getting angered at other people, ourselves, and our power for getting knocked to our knees, we need to change this feeling from being angered to being humanly humbled. Getting knocked to our knees is, can, and should be immensely humbling experience and feeling as a person in pain. In order for our pain to be purposeful in nature, we need to negate blaming others, ourselves, and our higher power. Instead, we humbly need to be still and sit in this discomfort and pain just for a bit. We need to do this in order to take personal inventory as to how we got here, why we are here in this moment, and most importantly, what individual lessons and purpose can derive from this fall. When we resort to this type of thinking from a completely different perspective and lens, we are more apt to begin the stages of growth as learning begins to manifest in ourselves in the midst of our pain. With this being said, we cannot and should not do this in vain, which defeats the sole purpose of our pain. What I mean by this, we need not readily get up so fast and swiftly from a fall, and just to feel comfort and security. We need to change our narrative from the blame game as to why and how we got here, and we need to alter our personalized attack on ourselves, in which we are not verbally being abusive within ourselves and to ourselves. We need to become more mindful in how and what has happened and negate trying to stand up and move prematurely only for a repetitive, vicious cycle of another fall to take place. What I'm suggesting is to allow ourselves permission to sit humbly on the ground in which to create space, time, and stillness to think about the process of the whys and the hows for a greater understanding of a much bigger lesson, picture, and purpose we can embark on. With this being said, we might not readily fully understand in this exact moment the rationale for such a fall, and that's okay. However, we need to fully accept graciously the fall and to have that reassurance that humbly in due time, we are going to gain new perspective when we have the space and time to reflect in order to gain even more clarity, understanding, and rationality for such pain. In the meantime, this can only happen if we rearrange and sidestep our anger and we begin the process of 100% being receptive and 100% of being open as to what we can learn and gain from this positionary standpoint in this exact moment. This is where personal inventory needs to present itself, which means an authentic self-examination and constructive eye into our core. This self-examination and constructive eye does not mean a self-bashing, self-berating, or self-defeating talk to ourselves about ourselves. Instead, we are attaining an openness and being receptive to a bigger picture perspective as to what we can humbly learn about who we are from this pain and what underlying human error did we facilitate to possibly create such a fall. When we self-examine, we want to attain what lessons and takeaways we can gain about ourselves in all our spheres of our core. For example, more mastery into our emotionality, physically, professionally, relationally, spiritually, and financial standpoint. The goal is to be engaged in an active personal assessment and evaluation as to what we need to do differently within ourselves and our spheres in order to implement systematic modifications for overall improvement and personal advancement into who we are as people and the many hats we wear in our daily lives. The goal is not to stay knocked down, but long enough to ground ourselves and humbly gain this perspective and self-awareness. By humbly being open to a self-examination, we begin the process of understanding the changes that we need to make in ourselves and our spheres, so we are more apt to create a new system for implementation, resulting in manifestations of new understanding, growth, and self-actualization. We begin to accept the stages of to cognitively change our thinking and feelings to create new strategies of a brand new system that will result in different outcomes and results. When we completely sidestep our anger, gain full acceptance and grace in the fall, and are 100% open and receptive into our own modified introspection, we have more time and confidence to integrate a newly devised plan to implement. We then are more capable and more steadily and more secure to rise up slowly from the fall with new knowledge and mastery of an innovative perspective and plan to implement humbly for a better purposeful way of life moving forward. Now, this is to say there's absolutely no guarantee for prevention of another hard knockdown and pain, which will occur in a completely different period and era of our lives when different challenges and struggles arise and present itself as life inevitably does. We're going to experience pain again and possibly get knocked down to our knees again, but this time differently, not in vain, but humbly with a new integrative and learned perspective gain from a previous fall and more restorative faith in ourselves and others and higher power when pain and falls occur. With then, and only then, we can slowly begin to rise up securely and stand up strong and firm in resiliency to forge forward, knowing what our pain is not in vain. The endured purposeful pain provides us with self-examination, change, and progressive growth so we can be the best versions of ourselves, within ourselves, and the many hats we wear on a day-to-day basis. By doing this, we inevitably improve our relationship with ourselves, others, and build stronger rapport with our higher power, who is always and unconditionally there for us, particularly when we are on the ground in pain and suffering. He is the one who provides us the strength and the courage and resiliency to rise up when ready. First, understanding and knowing that he did not, nor will he ever abandon us or leave us, especially in the midst of our pain and suffering. Instead, he is alongside with us, shovel in his hand, and handing us our own shovel to dig together methodically out from our knockdown. With his presence, love, and guidance, we need to systematically work with him in which to gain full understanding, meaning, and purpose from our humble pain. He wants that for us, but we have to also want that for ourselves and not be fearful or afraid to do the digging and the hard work that is needed. Together with our higher power and with our change outline approach and perspective on our purposeful pain, we're able to gain newfound meaning from pain and suffering. We then are able to rise up with him stronger, more confident, and even more humbled than ever. As we begin to once again walk and stride with him to be a better version of ourselves in all our spheres with the many hats we wear in our day-to-day lives. As time passes and we look back, we are more and more reflective of our painful fall that happened, and we preserve an even clearer perspective and meaning and purpose from our pain. As a result, we are even more restorative with other people, ourselves, and our higher power. The goal is that we humbly modify to become an even better version of ourselves from our purposeful last fall and preparation for future falls and pain. I hope this different perspective sheds new light and purpose as to what we can learn and gain from our pain. For within our pain and fall, we learn and master the most about ourselves, others, and our higher power. I want to sincerely thank you for spending time to listen openly and allowing me to share this different perspective of processing purpose and meaning derived from pain. I hope you continue to enjoy and learn from the remainder of this amazing conference, and may God bless you and your families ongoing. Thank you.